Hello, can you hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me and let me know if you could see. Are we gonna get started? Okay, so just waiting to make sure everybody is here and ready to go. Okay, so apologies about that. All right, sorry about that, guys. The Wi-Fi I had to switch it over and I forgot to, so it kept knocking out. So just let me know if you're hearing and seeing now, and then we're gonna get started. I think I was talking and all right, just wait. Some persons having issues logging in, so I'm just trying to do something here. We're gonna begin, okay? All right, so let's jump right into it. Somebody from my class, could you help Tisha with the link, please? She just messaged me so she can't find it. So just somebody send it to her or explain to her where to find it. All right. So let's get started. So question 8, like I was saying, deals with functions, relations, and graphs, advanced, and and uh, algebra. So we're gonna be seeing a lot of stuff. But what I've realized is that there are a few patterns that come every year. So once we understand the basics, we should be able to manage with all of the other questions. All right, so let's take a look here at the first question, which is obviously a functions question. No, we're not going to focus on anything but above here because it's important for you to follow and understand what you're seeing. So we know functions is just some instructions where you have an input, which would be your x value, And then when you work it out, you get an answer, which is your output. And we know that's also what? Y. So we know, or what we should know, is that X is our input and Y is our output. And what connects both of them? How do we go from X to Y? The actual function. The function is what we use to put the X value in, and what we get out is the answer or the Y value. Everybody with me? Or everybody got it? Waiting for more persons to let me know if they got it, because this is basic stuff. And so obviously, if you don't understand this or got this, the advanced stuff might be a bit challenging. So let me see. Please make sure you respond and let me know. All right. So here we have a table, and the first question asks you to complete the table. So what do you know that means? That means for each X value, we need to calculate the Y value, which means you substitute for X the value, and the answer you get will be the Y. So for time purposes, we're just gonna follow along with the notes here and the working here already. And I want you to pay attention to how they do it. You realize you could follow what value of X they use and then the answer that they get. Everybody see what I'm trying to show you? Because it is important that when you write your answer or your working is set out neatly just like this. It must be easy to follow. So just don't start putting on workings and all over the place and you can't follow it, okay? That's what we need to focus on. This 3 extra weeks, so let me just take this opportunity to say, these extra 3 weeks is not for us to have more time to do nothing. This is an opportunity for us to pull up where we need to pull up. And I'm telling you now, you have to do most of the work on your own, because you must know where you understand and where you don't understand. Okay? Practice makes perfect. All right, so let's continue. So when X is 0, Y is 3. So what do you do when you work it out? You put here 3. When X is 1, Y is 7. You put here 7. When X is 4, because you realize they gave us 2 and they gave us -1. So we need to find 4, which is here. When X is 4, Y is 7. When X is 6, Y is -3. So we have here 7, and we have here -3. Before we continue, what type of graph this gonna give you? Will this give you a straight line? If we were to plot that, would it be a straight line or a curve? I need everybody to make a decision, because these are the things you need to remember. We've spoken about this during paper 1. So I'll wait to see some responses before I continue. When you look at this function, 3 plus 5x minus x squared, what type of graph will it give you? Will it give you a straight line or a curve? Excellent. How do we know it could never be a straight line? Because the power on the x is a square. Anytime the power on the x is a square, you're going to get a curved graph. We spoke about this already. How do we know it's a straight line? What does a straight line graph look like? Y equals mx plus c. You can always have something in front of the x, even if it's 1, and plus or minus something. Everybody with me? That is what we get when we have a straight line. The most important part is if x has a power of 1. Once x has a power of 1, you have a straight line. Once x has a power of 2, you have a curved line. So if you got it, let me know if you got it, please, so we could move on. The difference between how a function looks, if it's a straight function or a curved line function. So that's 1, that's 2. We got 13, 12 people in here. All right. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. From here, one of the things you need to know is that anybody could tell me what this is? What do we call that? Isn't that the domain? And again, what does the domain represent? The input. What's another word for input? X values. Everybody with me? And so if you look at it, even if they didn't give you the X value and they gave you this, everybody should be able to identify what all the X values are, right? Because X is greater than or equal to -1, the first number is going to be what? -1. Then what? 0. Then 1. Then 2. Then 3. Then 4. Should I stop at 5? Is 5 the last number? No, because it is equal to or less than 6. Once it is equal to or less than, it always includes the number. So 6 would be included. So let me just take a moment and pause here. If CXC had given you a completely empty table and just the function and the domain, would you be able to identify the values of the x's, knowing that it starts from -1 and ends at +6? Because we did less than and greater than early in September. So for example, what is the difference between x is greater than 2 but less than 6? What is the first number x is in this case? I need to see more people responding. At the end of the day, what you're going to do, not respond to the question. You have to try. Whether you get it wrong is not the point. I need to see what you're thinking. So I need more people to respond. If x is greater than 2, but less than 6, what is the value of the first value of x? It must be 3, because what number is immediately greater than 2? So it's going to be 3 it's going to be 3, 4, 5. Why it cannot be 6? Because x is less than 6. So everybody see why it's only 3, 4, and 5? If I am greater than 2, I can't include 2. If I am less than 6, I can't include 6. But if you had less than and equal to and greater than and equal to, the first number must start where? Because they're telling us that x is greater or equal to 2. So our first number must be 2. Second number 3, 4, 5, and what gonna be the last number? 6. So I hope everybody remember these, and then we did this thing too. What type of circle do we use to represent the less than and greater than sign? An open circle. What do we use to represent the less than and equal sign? A closed circle, a shaded circle. And when I say represent, on a number line. Okay? All right, so let's get back to business. So we know how to find the x values. We understand how to find the y values, because all we did is, let me zoom out a little bit. All we did was take the x values, substitute it into the function, and the answer will give us the y. So input x, output y. Input x, output y. Okay? So Everybody, let me know if you understand, if you're following, please, before we continue. So just let me know following, not following. If you need me to go over anything else, let me know. Now, before we even move on, this is where we talk about critical thinking. You already know what type of graph you can get. You can either get a graph like that or a graph like that. And at some point, I'm going to indicate how do you know which one it is. But for now, we know it is. What line does be associated with this? Yeah, remember we spoke about it before? Anybody remember what we spoke about before? In the line of symmetry. The line that goes straight down the center that allows us to fold the curve in half so that this side would match this side. Because we did it, what class that was when we were doing geometry, when we were doing the transformations? Remember I mentioned that? So Lysandra confirmed, nobody else remember me mentioning this? Yeah, you gotta make sure you let me know because I need to know what you remember and what you don't remember. Because some people weren't in class. All right, so let's continue. If you look at these numbers, can anybody tell me where you think the line of symmetry between which numbers or between which X numbers would the line fall between? So we ain't even moving on yet. Where would the line of symmetry fall? Look at that graph. Are you seeing a line where on one side you're seeing one of each number? So between which two numbers, which two X values, which two X values would the line of symmetry fall? Austin says 2 and 9, but there are no 9 values for X. Tyler says 2 and 3. Nobody else? And I'm telling y'all now, if people don't answer, kicking you out of class. Because at the end of the day, we only, even though we got 3 more weeks, we need to participate more. But listen to the question. I didn't ask you what Y value, I asked what X value. So look at it. The Y value going to tell you where the symmetry is, but between which X value does it lie? If you don't know, you need to say you don't know. If you're not seeing it, you need to say you're not seeing it. All right, so that's my personal first warning, because the only reason I'm doing this is because some persons will be in class, they don't say nothing, they don't do nothing, and I don't think, like, what's the point? So that was my first warning. I'm not saying it again. I'm just gonna remove you from class, okay? So you can't be mad or feel away because I make sure I let everybody know what time it is. So for those who tried, thank you very much. Good work, whether it's right or wrong. How do we identify our line of symmetry? We know it's like a mirror line, right? Where would I find the numbers that are matching? So look at it. Aren't these two numbers matching? 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 Where's the center line? So the center line is between what? 2 and 3. What number falls in the middle of 2 and 3? Nobody know what number for 2.5. Excellent. 2.5. So you see in this example, the line of symmetry is not an exact value of an x, but it fell in between. So let's see what the next questions ask us for. So I really wanted to expose you guys to this before we even look at the actual questions. So it says here, on the graph below, complete the graph for this. Now, be honest, how much people think they could finish plot this graph here? Okay. Okay. Now, what are you going to use to plot the graph? Because this is the thing that has confused me with students. Which information you're going to use to plot the graph? What do you need? To plot any graph, you need to plot points. So you need your x and your y values. Where am I getting this from? The table, thank you. The table. That's what everybody needs to know. You're using the table because you need your x and your y. Please note that f of x means y, because f of x means the output, which is y. Okay, so another way for writing this is y. So let's go. How do we plot a point? We look for the x value and we look for the y value. So what is the x value? The x value is -1. We know this is the x-axis, so that's where we look for -1. Look at where -1 is. And then how much we're going, up or down? Where do I go, up or down, if I want -3 for the y? Down. So as we see here, look at the first point that was plotted for you. Sometimes these things are not plotted for you, so you have to be able to do it. So let's continue. Second point is 0, 3. Where do we find x is 0? X is 0 right here. And what type of number are we looking for? +3. So where do we go? Up or down? Up. Excellent. So here is where our next point will be. So next one, 1, 7. That should be easier now, right? X, and please remember, don't make this mistake. Do not make this mistake. Don't go do this because you realize no 7 here. That should give you an indication that you should plot the points then properly. X is 1 and then you go up 7. That would give us this. Boom. Next point, these other 2 points were plotted. So we need 4, 7. Where's 4, 7? We come across 4, we go up 7. That's that. We're right here, sorry. Make sure you're sure that you're on the mark exactly. And what other point that we're missing? We have 5, 3. So now we need 6, -3. So where is 6? That's 6. Yeah. We come down to -3, which is here. So everybody see how easy that was? You follow the x, you follow the y position, and that's it. Do we leave it like this? Are we done? No, we have to do what? Draw the curve. Now this is the tricky part. We know some of our hands are a little shaky. That's okay. But you gotta connect the points. And because it is a curve, you do not use a ruler. You gotta freehand it. So you gotta do like, because I am using online, my hand can obviously not be perfect. So, because if I was drawing this in real life, I would have moved my paper. All right, so everybody see that? So from now, everybody should be able to plot points, right? And to be honest, question 8 is very challenging, and so far, this question seems manageable, right? So yeah, don't panic. If you can't get your lines too straight, just try to make it smooth so that it don't look like this. Don't ever try to do it like this. Try to do one long motion. Don't do this. Sorry. Let me show you. Because this is where you wouldn't get full marks if you did this. Jesus. Don't do that. Everybody with me? Hello? Do not do that. No, don't rebuke that. You're graphing and look so. Rebuke that. Take your time and just make it smooth and clean and looking good and sexy and whatnot. All right. So we have here incomplete graph, blah, 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 blah. So what's the next? What's the next question? The next question is write down the equation of the axis of symmetry of the graph. That's easy for us, right? Why is that easy for us? Because we know how to read lines that are vertical, right or wrong. Once you know what the x value is, we know the equation of the line is simply x is equal to 2.5 or 2.5, because we already identified that below. Everybody with me? So you see how easy that was? We found the center mark, symmetry, the line of symmetry, that's literally it, okay? And so after that, the next question was, so look at here, the axis of symmetry is x. Remember, you must say x, you can't just write 2.5. X is equal to, and in your paper, you would say from the graph, and it's the same thing like what they say, read off. That means the same thing. So let's find the maximum value of the function. What does that mean? So if the graph have a curve like this, it obviously has a maximum. If it have a curve like this, it obviously have what? It would have a maximum still. It would have a minimum. Okay? So simple thing, if you know, you always use, what do you think you're going to use? You have to use the line of symmetry. The line of symmetry is the highest point. So wherever this be, you just go across and find the value. And that's how you get your maximum value. And how do you know which one they need? You have to state the y, because what they ask for, the maximum value of f of x. Because all I did was take my rule and go straight across. Everybody see that? This is the maximum point, but they didn't ask us for the maximum point. They say find the maximum value of the function. It is not on 9. Look at it. Is it on 9? It is not on 9. It's above 9. So how do we know it's 9.25? Let's look at this, because that's a serious question. If from here to here is 1, how much boxes in between? That's 1 box, 2 box, 3 box, 4 box, 5 boxes. How do we determine how much each small box is? In your calculator, what would you do? It's 1 big box divided into 5 small boxes. It's 5, right? Yeah. And so each box can give us what? 0.2. But look at it. In between here, it's a little bit more. It's not exactly on 0.2. It's not exactly on 0.4. So that's how they end up getting that, okay? If you use your decimal, that's okay. So let's do a quick check-in. Everybody see how we found the maximum value of the function, which means the maximum value of f of x, which also means y. Remember, f of x means y. So looking on. 2 persons confirmed so far. I'm waiting for everybody else. Again, if you don't know what's going on, it is your responsibility to pull up on these things. Because if not, if I didn't teach it direct, send you notes, examples, past papers. Okay? All right, so let's read this one now. It says, write down the coordinates of the point where y is equal to 3 minus a half of x. How do we know what I'm talking about? What does that mean? What point tells us where y is equal to 3 minus a half of x. Let me ask you a question. Is this the same function in the beginning, or this is a completely different line? Because that's something you need to note. Is this a completely different line? Look at the original function. Is that in a different line? This is a straight, this is a curve. It's different, look. This is a completely different line. And what type of line is this? Isn't this a straight line? This ain't look like y equal mx plus c. Y equal mx plus c. The only difference is these two switch and one negative. So let me ask this very serious question. What is m? Looking at this equation, what is the value of m? So Damien thinks it's 3, Gwen thinks it's 3. Cassandra thinks it's negative a half. Natalia says a positive a half. What about everybody else? Let's go. This is literally just you looking at the equation and determining which one is m and which one is c. Now look at this. What does this equation tell us? Where does the m fall? The m fall in front of the x. So you want to tell me, right? Do not let this confuse you. Not because these two switch. Where is the x? This is the x here. So the number in front, the x is our m. And if you realize in the general equation, m is usually positive. So if you see a negative sign in here, that means m is negative. So the answer is negative a half. Everybody seen it now? Those who thought it was 3? So m is negative a half. Remember, m represents what? The gradient. And the gradient is the number that comes in front of the x. Again, we've done this several times. So what is the value of c then? The value of c is 3. And it's positive 3. So we should remember, what does m represent? M represents the gradient of the line. C represents what? C represents the y-intercept. Yeah? I just want to make sure we're on the same path because all of this is revision. This is remember, it's functions, algebra, and graph part 2. It's going to be harder than the basic functions questions, functions, relations, and graphs. So let's go back again. Write down the coordinates of the point where the line y, so this line crosses the x-axis. How do we know where this line crosses the x-axis? When a line crosses the x-axis, what is the value of the y? Remember the equation of the x-axis? What is the equation of the x-axis? Y is equal to what? 0, right or wrong? Talk to me, talk to me. We did this a lot last week. We know the x-axis, the equation for the x-axis is y is equal to 0. The equation of the y-axis is x is equal to 0. So that's what they expect you to know. Now, they gave us this equation. So what information we know? If it crosses the y-axis, y is equal to 0. So guess what you're supposed to do? What you're going to replace here, what information we could switch out with? We know that y is what? 0. So we write back everything else. And let me ask a question here. What do you think you're expected to do to move forward? Just looking at this, what do you think they want you to do? Find what? What do you think they're going to need you to find? Look at the equation. What do you think they want you to find with this equation? You find x, because look at it. That's the only unknown left. We already know y is 0, and that's why we plug it in. So the only one that we don't know is what? X. You see that? And what do we do to find x? We got to do what? We got to transpose. Talk to me. Everybody with me and understand why? Transpose. So I am going to rewrite this here, and I'm going to transpose. And I'm going to do it in an advanced way. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If you know you have not been in classes, don't stress yourself out because you won't be here, because I would have taught it while you weren't here. So pick up what you could pick up now, pick up as much as you can, and it is your job to go back and watch them videos. Okay? So let's go. I want to solve for this. No, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to do this the advanced way because I want x. Currently, on this side, x is negative. Everybody seeing that? Right or wrong? X is negative in it. So instead of moving the tree over, because if I move the tree over, what's going to happen to the tree? It's going to become negative. So I'm going to work smart. I am going to instead move the x over, so that what's going to happen to the x? It's going to change over to what? Being positive. So I'm going to end up with positive a half x is equal to 3. Yeah? Now I want x. So if I have a half, how am I going to get rid of a half? What is the opposite of dividing by 2? Multiplying by 2 on both sides. So this and this is going to cancel. So we're going to end up with what? X is equal to 6. But did they ask us for the x or y value? They asked us for a point. So do we have our 2 points? Do we have our x and our y? We know x is equal to what? 6. And from the beginning, we knew that y was equal to what? 0. So what is the point then? Because remember, a point is an x and a y. The point is 6, 0. Boom, look at right here. Therefore, this is our answer. This is where the line crosses the x-axis. So I'm going to quickly go over this and let you know so you can understand what we spoke about. So here they use the diagram, but we're going to come back to that after. So here they tell us something. We have a random line cutting the x-axis. And they want to know what is the point, look at it here, what is the coordinates of the point that cuts the x-axis from this graph? So this is the part that I didn't expect y'all to really put together so quickly. You have the equation of this line. Before I continue, everybody with me, everybody listening and following? So just confirm that you're listening and following. And if at any point there's something that you want me to elaborate on, just let me know, okay? So as we were saying, we know that this is the equation of the straight line. And they tell us the straight line hits or crosses the x-axis. This is the part CXC expects you to know. If it crosses the x-axis, it crosses this equation, y is equal to 0. And everybody remember y, right? Because we learned that that's the equation of the x-axis. Everybody good to go with this part? Because remember, when they tell you certain things, there are things that you need to understand to make connections. And that's why I just take my time with these parts. This here is what they expect you to know on your own. Anytime they say the x-axis, the equation of the x-axis is y is equal to 0. Now, they ask us for a point. What do you need to find a point? You need an x value and you have a y value. Everybody agree with that? Everybody should remember that. What happened there? Hold on there. Wow, I nearly had a heart attack. Whew. So there we go. So yes, everybody should be here with me. Now, this is the part where you have to make the connection. If they give you this equation and you know because it crossed the x-axis, we know y is 0. They expect you to know to plug in y is 0 because you don't have one part of the answer. Agree or disagree? Because you need a point and you don't know you got x and you know y is already 0. So they expect you to calculate the value of y, but how? You use your value of y. Y is 0, you put 0 here. And then they expect you to just solve the rest. What does solve the rest mean? You transpose and you calculate what x is, and that's what we did here. I shouldn't have to go over this because that's basic algebra. So we realized when we're done, we got answer where x is equal to 6, and so our answer is 6, 0. Sorry, yes. You really should be calculating x. I made a mistake and say y. Okay? I hope everybody following, even if it's 5 out of 10, I'll take it. Okay? So let's move on. Now look at this one now. Look at this one now. Where is it crossing now? Who is it crossing now for the second one? The y-axis. When the y-axis is given, who is 0 now? Instead of y being 0, who is 0? What's the equation of the y-axis? X is equal to 0. So for this point, we already have what? The x value. Who do we need to calculate? Everybody talk to me. Who do we need to calculate? Y. So you take the equation. Y is equal to 3 minus a half of x. So everywhere you see x, what you're going to put now? You realize it's the same thing, just in different. You switch it now. First it was the y and now it's the x. I hope you are seeing what I'm trying to show you. Right? So all we do now, we leave the y because that's what we want to find. And we substitute the 0 for the x. And you know, what do you know? Anything times 0 is what? Anything times 0 is 0. So what is our answer? Y is equal to 3. So you realize now we calculate the y. The y is what? 3. Everybody see that? So at the beginning, we know they had gave us the x-axis. What does the x-axis tell us? The y is 0. The second example, which one they gave us? The y-axis. What does that mean? Y x is equal to 0. And you realize it's the same steps for both of them. If you got it, tell me you got it. Excellent. Excellent. Now I'm going to tell you the truth. This was January 2022. Highly likely a question like this could come again. A little harder though, to be honest with you. But you just always remember, if they tell you the x-axis, it means y is 0. If they tell you the x-axis, what did I just say? Let me go back again. The x-axis, y is 0. The y-axis, x is 0. Whew, okay. I hope y'all stick that in your brain and drill it in and so you don't move. Now, let me show you a trick now, even before we look at this. Do you know, anytime they give you a function, so let's say they give you a straight line function, y is equal to 3x plus 2, and they ask you to draw a line. Do you know that if you find these 2 points, you only need these 2 points to draw your line? What do I mean? If you find the line, the point on the y-axis, and you find the point on the x-axis, do you need the points in between? Everybody's looking, seeing what I'm trying to show you. Anytime they say plot a line from a function, and you know it's a straight line, what are the 2 points you're going to look for? You're going to look for the 2 points where y is 0. The 2 endpoints, excellent. The 2 points on the axis. So this one here is what? On the x-axis. This one here is on the what? The y-axis. Everybody see what I'm showing you? So look at what they did here. They tell us to draw the line on the grid. Look at it here. We draw the line by plotting the points that we just find, which is the y-axis point and the x-axis point. And you just join these points and that's the line there. You're going to need this for other topics, especially when we look at other questions. So I want you to remember that. Everybody with me? So we see how we draw the curve. When it comes to a curve, you need all the points. When it comes to a straight line, you only need two. What is the two lines that you need? The 2 points you need is one on the y-axis and the point on the x-axis, and you connect them 2 points, that's your line. And that's it. So the last thing now, using your graph, determine the solutions to the equation. Now, if anybody remembers simultaneous equation, when you get simultaneous equation, what do you always get? You get a value for the x, right? And you get what? A value for the y. Everybody with me? Hello? Now, for this curve, how much solutions do you think you're going to get? So this really means where these two graphs intersect, where two of them cross each other. If you look at this picture here, you see they ask you from the graph, where do these 2 points cross each other? Look at this graph, these two graphs meet right here. And if you look here, these two graphs meet right here. So you realize you're going to get two solutions. Everybody see how we get two solutions? If it was two straight lines, how much solutions you going to get? Only one, because they only cross each other once. But with a curve, do you realize that you're getting two solutions? Because the line crossed the curve twice. Tell me if you got it, if you understand what I'm trying to show you. Yeah? So remember they ask you to determine the solution. Whenever you're asked to find a solution for something, don't that mean you're trying to find what x is and what y is? So let me know if you understand that part. When somebody says solve these equations, it means you need to end up at the end with an answer for your variables. So let me know if you understand this part. So this is solve, so you need an answer for these two. I just asked a question. So I want to know if when somebody tell you must solve something, you don't know that what it means, you don't know what solve means. I need you to tell me if you know what solve mean. What does solve mean? Solve means to find the value of your variables or your unknown variables. Find the unknown. Now remember, everything is connected. Whenever you remember simultaneous equations, because we're going to come to a question like this, right? You think you could solve these two simultaneous equations like normal? This is an advanced simultaneous equation. So I'm going to do it both ways for our next question because the next year I have it. But you can't just subtract these two equations. Why not? Because you have an x squared and you have an x. So why do you think they tell you must use the graph? You realize they say using the graph? Using your graph? So let me know if you understand what I'm trying to show you. That it's not as easy, and that's why they ask you to use your graph. Talk to me, talk to me. You need to know the difference. Okay, so this is the new content that you're learning for the first time. You could actually use a graph to solve equations, okay? So for example, just like how we could have do with the transformations, we could have used the calculation method and we could use the graph method. Y'all remember that, right? That you could do it using the graph or you could do it using calculation. Yes. So what I am going to show you now is how to use your graph to find your solution. Whenever you're solving two equations, you're looking for the x and y value where those two graphs meet. So that's what it means. So from the graph, you have to look for the points where the two graphs meet. So let me just do like a little quick sketch or something. Okay, let's say I have a straight line going so. And then let's say I have another line going so. How many solutions would these two equations have? How much solutions would this have? It would only have one because these two lines only cross each other once. So how do you find the solution? You find what x value is here, and that would, let's say this is 5. So that means your answer would be x is equal to 5. And how do you find the y answer? You go across and you find out what y value here, and let's say that is a 3. So you know y is equal to what? 3. So let me know if you understand this part now. So this is how we found our solution using graph. You understand the concept now of what you should be looking for when you're looking for the solution from the graph? Where both lines or graphs intersect. Wherever it intersects, you just go, you find the value of the x, you find the value of the y, and that's your solution. Because remember, that's what you want. You want to know what is the value of the x and what is the value of the y. Everybody see what I'm trying to show you now? So when it comes to the curve, what is the only difference? The only difference is that you have two places where they intersect. This is spot 1 and this is spot 2. But you got to do the same thing. You got to find out what is the value of the x here for spot 1. And if we look at it, what is the value here? X is equal to 0 and y is equal to 3. Tell me if you agree with me. Do you agree or disagree? So that would be solution 1. Let's look at the next point. This is a little trickier because you realize it don't drop on one number. And to be honest, they ain't gonna move super hard on you if you're off by a little bit. But try to make sure it's not off by a little bit. So you see here, this one ain't even on 5. It's on 5.5. And it looks like it's 5.5 and what? Point something. Point that look like a little bit over. If this is half, that look like a little bigger than a quarter. Or a quarter. It's exactly a quarter. So everybody see that? Look at that. X is 0, y is 3, x is 5.5, y is a quarter. You realize that this is actually not that hard. You just got to know what to do. So don't ever forget to solve an equation using a graph. You just look for where the 2 points then meet, and you read the x value and you read the y value, and that's the answer. Okay? And guess what? That's it. So I just want to quickly recap what we did for question 8, because this is a very popular type question that comes. They're going to ask you to fill out the tables, find the line of symmetry. They're going to ask you to identify the maximum or minimum point. They're going to ask you to give you the equation or the point where it cuts the x-axis, when it cuts the y-axis. We did that. Then they're going to ask you to identify the solution of both equations. Okay? Everybody okay? And not completely lost? Because my focus right now is understanding. Okay? It's understanding. So we're going to do another one, but we're going to do another one that's a lot more complicated. Anybody realize, know what this called from the time you see this? Anybody know what this called? This called linear programming. We did it before. previously because there's a whole video of this posted when you have to plot each line and see the sections they intersect. All right, so let's get started. So this is another important session. I'm going to take my time with this because it is something that is highly likely to come. Once we go over this, there won't be anything that we would do that you wouldn't know. I think the first 3 exams are our 3 different exams. And once we cover them, you're going to be good for question 8. So just type ready if you're ready to continue. All right. So let's read, because this is a lot of writing. We're just going to read through this question and I'm going to explain as we go along. Now, this question looking a bit sticky, boy. But we got to do it. We got to do it. So let's read what's going on here. Mala buys 2 types of mobile phones, B-Flow and C-Flex, from a company to retail. One B mobile phone costs $60, and I'm the type of person I like to take a summary note. So I would write on the side, B-Flow is $60, while C-Flex, these are some weird names for phones, costs $80. She buys X number of B-Flow. So you represent the number of Flow phones she got is by X, and Y number of C-Flex phones. Anybody could tell me what type of equations you think that happen here? Anybody realize this is like simultaneous equations? When they tell you, oh, you have this amount of cassettes and this amount of apples and this amount of pears, how much would this cost? If you're studying, you would know this because we've done simultaneous equations before. A long time ago though, or like in maybe October, November was when we did this. So this might be a little revision for a lot of people. So let's go. But everybody understand this basic stuff here. So X represents B-Flow and it's more than one phone. You realize that, right? She said a number. So X represents more than one. X represents a number of B-Flow. Y represents a number of C-Flex. So A, Mala must not spend more than 1,200. Write an inequality to represent this information. Now, I'm going to just take you through this step by step. So if you know what to do, good. If you don't know what to do, don't panic. First of all, how much things she buying? It's 2 things she buying, right or wrong? So from moving forward, we don't need to write B-Flow because what should represent B-Flow? What letter gonna represent B? Oh my God. Oh God. Again. What letter represents B-Flow? X. Excellent. So only a few people responded, but what about everybody else? Do you agree? Do you agree? All right. So I know I buy a certain number of B-Flow and I'm gonna write 60 here. Why would I write on instead of X60? What should I write instead? In 60X. Anybody know why I'm writing 60X? If one phone costs $60, X gonna cost how much? In 60 times X. And 60 times X is 60X. So I'm gonna stop right here. Everybody understand how I got 60x? That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. Only 3 persons, that's 4. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 12 people in here. What happened to the other 4 persons? Okay. Moving along. So what operation you think are going to rate? Plus or minus? They're going to be plus. It's going to be plus because obviously the 2 types of phone you're buying, you're going to add them up, right? Because you can't spend more than that. So we're going to have that. And how do I represent C-Flex? Anybody could tell me what should I write for C-Flex? Rather than me saying everything, anybody want to try? How do we represent C-Flex? Excellent. I'm just waiting to see if anybody else says it. How do we represent C-Flex? We know if this is how you represent B-Flow, how do you represent C-Flex? Look it up here. That's it. ATY. Because it's going to be 80 times Y. And Y could be 2 phones, 3 phones, 4 phones. Now, this is the more important part. More than, must not spend more than 1,200. So do I put equal to? And this is the options we have. Greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So you got 3 options. Option 1, option 2, option 3. Even though the answer right here, don't look at it. Tell me which one you think it is. Even though, you know, I trust in I not to cheat. Which one is going to be? It must be 3. Why must it be 3? Because this here, when you add up the money that the phone then costs, they cannot be more than the amount of money. So it must be less than or equal to 1,200. So this is another important thing because for this question, persons got the first part wrong. They were not able to answer A. They were not able to generate this statement. So quick check-in. Everybody understand how we got our equation? We know we needed to add the number of phones in total. So we had to get an expression for each type of phone, but it could never be just A. It could have never been X plus Y because X costs a certain amount and Y costs a certain amount. So now I hope that you see and understand. So in the future, when you see a question like this, you know how to phrase it. Okay, so let's continue. So here we got our equation. Look at it here, boom. Now, what I realized that they did is that they broke it down. Instead of leaving it so big, they broke it down. If I were you, this is how I would have broken it down first. So I would have said 60x plus 80y, 12. What number is the easiest number to divide here by? 8 and 10. Divide everything by 10. So they kind of advanced, so they did by 20. So I would suggest you do by 10. So that means scratch off all the zeros or 1 0. So you would end up with a simple or smaller equation, 6x plus 8y less than 120. Well, we're trying to just break down the equation to a simple equation rather than having it with such big numbers. That's what they did. Because you could do that. Remember, once you do to one number, you got to do to all. Okay? Can I break this down again? Yes, I could break this down using 2. So you divide by 2. I remember because it's an equation, you have to do it on all numbers. So we're going to end up with 3x plus 4y less than 60. And if you look here, that's what they have. Everybody was able to follow here? Because this is simple. We ain't really do nothing too hard here. All we did was cancel and break it down. First, we started off with 10, and then we did it with 2. Because what we realized is all the numbers are even. So once all numbers are even, you could divide by 2. All right, so let's look at the second question. 2. The number of B phones must be greater than or equal to the number of C flex phones. Write down an inequality in X and Y to show this information. This is so easy. If it's telling you that B phones, which is represented by X, must be greater than or equal to the number of C phone, which is Y, X must be greater than or equal to Y. Everybody see that? That's an easy mark to get. Be honest. You think you would be able to find that one? All you literally had to do was replace B phones with X and C phones with Y and just write the simple equation. Okay, moving on. Represent these two inequalities on the grid shown below. Now, this is the trick. This is the trick. So let's start off with this easy one. You have this equation, and what do? You just pretend for now to get the points. Pretend it's just an equal sign. Everybody with me? So before I begin, I hope you are ready. You are ready to look at how you do this. So equation 1, equation 2. So let's break it down. Equation 1 is a lot more complicated, right? Look at what it looks like. 3x plus 4y is less than or equal to what? 60. That's a lot of drama. But based on what we learned before, how do we calculate this? Let me show you. I don't want to look at the thing. Anybody remember how we just draw the straight line? What 2 points we need to look for? A1 where x is 0, and the other one where y is 0. And then we find them 2 points, which is the one on the y-axis, the one on the x-axis, and then we just connect the 2 points. Anybody remember that? Talk to me, because this is important. We just did it the exam before. So let me write this a lot better. But I need y'all to talk to me, the man. So you have an equation and they ask you to draw the line. Hold on there, guys. Hold on there. I have an important call. All right. So let's stop right here. Anybody feeling overwhelmed? Are you following me? Let me know if you're following me, because it's all connected. This is like what we just did before. This is an equation of a line. They ask us to plot it, right? Plot both of them or represent it on the graph. You don't know where to start, but you know you could get the point on the x-axis and you could get the point on the y-axis, just like what we did before. So let me go back and show you. Remember we did that? The line on the point on the x-axis, the point on the y-axis, and when you find them, you just connect it and that's how you get your line, right? So all you need to remember, how do we find the point on the x-axis? We know what? What do we know? We know that the y is 0. Agree or disagree? And when it comes to the y-axis, who is 0? Who is 0? And I just want to take this opportunity and tell you something, right? You could pass maths by doing, if you do a strong paper 1, because everybody SB is 20 on 20. You could do a strong paper 1 and only answer question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and pass the exam. Because do you know question 8 is the beginning of section 2. So if you answer all of the questions in question 1, you could pass with a 3, 2, 1. But never a 1, obviously. You would never get a 1. You might get a low 2, but you could pass. if you could answer even if half of this question, you're giving yourself an excellent chance of passing well. So that's why we focus on those last questions after. So just giving you a heads up, don't give up, stay focused, you could do it. All right. So now that we know, we should know that y is 0, x is 0. What do you do next with these two information? You substitute it into the equation to solve for the other variable, which is x. So there we go. So we got 3x plus 4 times what? Because y is 0, so it's going to be 4 times 0 is equal to 60. Because remember, right now, we ain't really care about the less than sign. We're just trying to find what is the x point. So let me put x down here. We're trying to find out what is x. Everybody with me? So we continue to solve. So that means 3x is equal to 60. Agree or disagree? How did I get this? We know that 4 times 0 is just 0, so that's gone. And then we could take it from here. We want x, so we divide by 3 on both sides. So what does that mean? That x is equal to 20. So what is the first point we're going to be plotting? The first point we're going to be plotting is 20, 0. If you got it, say got it. So let's continue. Let's find our other values. So here we know y is 0. So we need, tell me about y is 0. Sorry about that. X is 0. So we need to calculate for y. So the same thing we're going to do. We're going to substitute x is equal to 0. So it's going to be, instead of 3 times x, it's going to be 3 times 0 plus 4 times y is equal to 60. So we know this is going to give us 0. So 4y is equal to 60. Same thing what we did before. We divide by 4. Boom, boom. Somebody quickly with a calculator. What do you get when you divide 60 by 4? 15? Confirm if it's 15, please. So y is equal to, because 60 divided by 2 is 30. 30 divided by 2 is 15. Nobody got a calculator yet? Okay, thank you. Y'all need to get your calculators and be ready for these kind of things, man. So our second point, yes, paper 2 is our calculator. That's why I just asked y'all to have your calculator on standby. So here we have our second point, x is 0, y is 15. Can we draw our straight line now? Yes, we can. So let's plot the first line. 20, 0. Let's go up to the graph, wherever it is. And you see it has the scale already. That's the easy part. 20, 0. Anybody realize how they put the graph is perfect? Look at that. 20, 0. What was the next point? 0, 15. So go up to 15, 0, 15. So our straight line is from this point to that point there. Boom. Hello, y'all with me? Everybody with me? So just like what I did in the picture, you label this equation that you draw. This is the equation that we drew. 3x plus 4y is less than or greater than 60. Now here's the drama with this now. Here is the drama with this. Which, if you were to shade a side, which side you think it's gonna be? This side here, the left or the right? Even though it's done shaded. Everybody see why they shade this part? The lower part? If this line is equal to, because remember that's what we did, remember we used the line y is equal to 60. So if the line is equal to 60, if you want the area that represents less than 60, obviously it has to be the one below. Not if the section's smaller. Remember below here, like the X and the Y not increasing. You see what I mean? Look at it. X can be greater than 20 on the here, Y can be greater than 50. So this would be the lower section. All right, so everybody, just before we continue to the next part, let me know if you understand how we got this. You see, they did it here, same thing, they did it here like that. They found the X and the Y, they calculated, that's how they got this area here. No, what was the second equation we had to draw? X greater, what does it look like? This ain't look like a graph that we know. Don't we know a graph that looks like Y is equal to X? You realize that's what always going on? And how does that line look? X equal to Y, Y is equal to X. How do we know about that line? What are the important points about that line? 5, 5, 10, 10. Where the X and Y matches, isn't it? And you carry it up just so. Should I use a different color? Yeah. You know my line ain't gonna be exact, right? So don't, like, it really ain't exact, ain't going on the exact point, but you see what I mean? So remember, this is a standard line that we spoke about last week, the X equal Y or the Y equal X line. So here we have our two lines drawn, because that's what they ask us to do. They ask us to represent the two inequalities on the graph, and that's what we did. Boom. So let's look at the next question. Where is it? No, because this equation is X is greater than Y, what side you're going to shade, the left or the right? X is greater than Y. Come on, everybody, I need you to try. So far, one person said left, one person said right. Okay, that's 3, that's 4. It must be the right. Because look at it. On the left-hand side, X is limited. X can increase no more past this point. But look on the right, X continue going so. Everybody see why it's right now? If X is bigger, you got to pick the side where X is like unlimited. Based on this line limits X above. Because if you look at it, X can increase nowhere past this. Everybody see what I'm showing you? Versus underneath, you realize X is continuing on a limit going this way. I hope you all see the difference. And if you need to know, look at the tail. It's shown by the color yellow. So guess what the next question I'm gonna ask you? Hence, find R, which is the region that both of them have in common. So if you're looking at these two graphs here, where both of them have in common? In here. Look at it. If you got it, tell me if you've seen it. Because that's really the point of all of this. They're going to want you to draw both lines, look for the area that the inequality speaks about. So here, this is where the inequality was. And then they have to find the area that both of them crossing over. So look at this diagram here. Remember, all of this was the first one, all of this was the second one. Where do both of them have in common? Both of them have this area in common. Should I zoom out so you can see better? Yeah, seen it? Yeah, seen it? Look at it. Even though one gone so and one gone so, both of them have this triangle shaded. I can't explain differently if you don't talk to me, huh? All right, so I'm gonna come back to this. I'm gonna come back to this. I'm gonna come back to this. I really want to move on to this section here. Anybody realize this is the same thing like what we did before, except what's the difference? Instead of a maximum, what do we have here? A minimum. Everybody see that? So here they gave us the table with the answers already. If they ask you to calculate it, you should be able to calculate it because we did it. They ask you to plot it, you should be able to plot it, just like what we did before. You connect your points, and so you're good to go. Write down the maximum or minimum value. Can we do that? Yes, we can. Where would I find the maximum value? In by the line of symmetry. If you look at this, can you find the line of symmetry? Because I don't see it already. If these 2 points are on opposite sides, where would be the middle point? In right in the center of them. Let me know if you see what I'm showing you. So the line of symmetry would be here. So that means my maximum point is going to be where? Right at the base of that, right here. But look at what they ask you for. The maximum or minimum value of the function. So what did that tell us to do again? We need to find the y value. That means we go straight across. So what will we get? Negative 4 point something, right? Negative 4.25. Everybody see that? Same thing, just like the last time, except that what? Instead of the maximum is the minimum. Negative 4.25 or negative 4.25. All right, let's keep it moving. Use a ruler, draw the axis of symmetry. Guess what? We did that. That's easy stuff. If you got it, you got it. And guess what? That's the end of the exam. Look at that. So the only new thing, let me know. This part was easy now. Is this part, would you call this part easy now that we did it twice? You think you could do this part by yourself now? So find the line of symmetry, find the maximum or minimum point, plot the points, complete the table, right? So you realize just 2 exams we done. How much exams we done so far? 2, right? You see, in the 2 exams, the same question came, but this one was a lot easier and shorter. So the new concept here was really this plotting these lines here. And we're going to see 1 or 2 more of those here. So we're going to do 1 more. Yeah, because these 2 is the same thing. So let me see this one. Oh, this one is functions like inverse. I think I want to do that. But look at that. This is the same thing. Finding the line of symmetry, finding the maximum, minimum point. Look at this here. This using the same concept. Uses to make juice cakes. Cost a bottle of juice is this. What it costs to make a cake. Write the equation to represent the information. You realize this is a similar question here. I'm just trying to go through it quick so you can see the trend. Yeah, realize that's the same thing that we did before. You have to write it as an equation, and then you have to solve. So, and this is the same thing again with the maximum or minimum. Maximum point, line of symmetry. All right, so let's go back to this question that we have not done before and take a look at it. So this is actually really new, so I need you to pay attention. Solve the pair of simultaneous equations. The first thing I want you to look at, is this a regular simultaneous equation? A regular simultaneous equations look like this. Y is equal to, why am I saying y? They would have given you this, 3x plus 2y equal 11, 5x plus 2y equal 15. Why is this a regular simultaneous equation and this is not? What is the difference between these two things? What you're realizing is the difference. Look at the powers. Is there any power on the x or is there any power on the y? So to solve this question would be simple. We gotta label it 1 and 2. We gotta choose which variable to eliminate. We would eliminate this because they are alike. We subtract, and then we would get this, and then we solve for x, and then we substitute for y to solve for x and y. So that's the basic way of solving simultaneous equations. If you do not know the basic steps, please make sure you go and you revise them. Okay? This is the advance. So my focus here is making sure you know that this is not the regular simultaneous equation. What do you do in a situation like this? You start off the same. You label equation 1 and equation 2. Everybody following me so far? Pretty simple, right? Now look at this. This is where it's different. You usually take equation 2 and substitute it in equation 1. Where do you think you would find a space to do that? You gotta see which one matching. Which term you think matching here? That in the first one and in the second one. What do you see matching? In x. I need, for each step, I need everybody to confirm with me because this is new. This is the only type of solving I did not teach to any of the groups because this is the advanced version. So I need everybody to make sure they're with me and they understand and they're seeing what I need them to see. Everybody seeing what I'm showing you? So guess what you're going to do? You're going to create one equation by, instead of having x because these two equal, you're going to replace this x with this. So guess what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with the first part, which is y squared plus 2y plus 11. And instead of it equal x, you're going to put it equal to that. And I'm going to show you why. Do you realize now we only have y's? Everybody realize that now? So we don't have two unknowns, we have one. And we should know that it makes it easier to solve if we don't have an x and a y. So we only got y now. Talk to me. Because this is the logic now. This is the thinking. This is what tells you, oh yeah, this is what I should do. I want to get rid of the x, which is the same thing we used to do in the other part, but it's more complicated. So you replace this x, and since x is equal to all of this, you just replace it with all of this. Now, based on what you've learned, what do you think you need to do now? Shouldn't we move everybody? Shouldn't we move everybody over to get one equation? Now, guess what? We can't just transpose. What do you think stopping us from just transposing this square here? Because you know we cannot add these two things. We cannot add y squared and 2y. So we still have two variables, two different variables. So step one, make one equation. So we're going to move these two things over. So you're going to end up with y squared plus 2y plus 11 minus 5 minus 3y going to equal to what? If everything get moved over, we're going to be left back on the right-hand side. Nothing. And this is important. So a lot of people talking to me directly. So I am following their understanding. So everybody else, Talk to me and let me know if you're following this, the second most important step. So step one was replacing the x with the equation. Step two was putting everybody on one side. Thank you. It's supposed to be plus. Thank you very much. So guess what we're going to do next? The algebra rules. Add what you can add, subtract what you can subtract. So you finna get y squared plus 5y plus 6 equals 0. Hello? Everybody see that? Now the next part is the part where students don't know. What does it look like to you? This ain't look like a quadratic equation. Didn't we learn how to solve a quadratic equation using different rules? What's the different rules we learned? We could use factorization, or we could use what? The quadratic formula. Right or wrong? That's excellent. Which one we could use? We could use the quadratic, and you see the factorization? Look at here. Everybody know why we could factorize this like that? Which rule we gonna use to factorize this? In the AC rule? Using the AC rule? So let's go. AC rule, so we got 6. What's the factors of 6 that add up to 5? 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 plus 3 is 5. So for those who don't remember, I'm gonna quickly do this. I taught this all of this already. So let's just rewrite it here. Y squared plus 5y plus 6 equals 0. Don't forget the equals 0 part. So when I look at this, I could tell this is the AC rule immediately. How do I know? Because the factors of 6 that add up to the middle number, there is some numbers that could add up to the middle number. We see it here, 2 and 3. So what is step one? Step one, rewrite the equation. Y squared plus 2y plus 3y equals 6. Plus 6, sorry. Plus 6 equals 0. And then you factorize by grouping. What can I factorize from these two? What can I factorize from these two? So we pull out the y here, so we can get y plus 2. On this side, what can I pull? I can pull out plus 3. I'm going to get y plus 2. So I see I pull out the y plus 2 because it's common, y plus 2. What's going to be left back? Y plus 3. But don't forget, we're not done. Remember, we're solving. So what do we do from here? This is where we should remember. We got to break down these two. So we're going to say first what? Y plus 2 is equal to 0, or y plus 3 is equal to 0. And from there, we solve. So if y plus 2 is equal to 0, if we transpose, what is y? If we transpose, y is equal to what? Y is equal to -2. Or what else? Y is equal to what? -3. Everybody see that? All of this is quick revision because we've learned all of this before. Am I done? Am I done? When you're solving, we spoke about it before. We only find the y's, and you realize why we got 2 y's. Anybody remember why we always gonna end up with 2 y's? And this is a perfect example. Do you remember in the previous example, we solved using the graph? When we solve using the graph, let me go back. How many y's, x and y's we had? We had 2. Everybody see that? So here, this is the calculation I was telling you about. This is how you use calculation method. So we need 2 x values. How do we get the x values? We just substitute these values. So wherever we use one of the equations, which one makes sense? Which one you would use? 1 or 2 for the substitution? Obviously 2, because 2 the easy one, isn't it? Hello? You just substitute that. So look at the equation. X is equal to 5 minus 3y. So we got two values of y. What were two values of y again? -2 and -3. So these are the values we're going to substitute. Y is equal to -2 or -3. So the first answer we're going to get is what? 5 minus 3 times -2. So 5 minus -6. So that's what? 11, because these two are going to come together and turn into a plus. So what is the first point? The first point is 11. Let me don't say point yet. Let me say x is equal to 11 when y is equal to -2. Remember input and output? So that's the first answer. How do we get the second one now? We got to substitute for -3. So we go again. If x is equal to 5 minus 3y, we substitute -3. So 5 minus 3 times -3. So that is 5 minus -9. These two will come together to into a plus. So that's what? 14. So x is 14 when y is -3. So we write it out. So we're going to say this, or x is equal to, what it was, 14? 14 when y is equal to -3. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Look at here. x14, y -3, or x11, y -2. Hey, y'all with me? So let me go through the steps again. So everybody, let me know if you're ready for me to go through the steps again. So we see all the working, but let's try to understand the steps again from the beginning straight down to the end. So let's go. First thing you're going to notice, solve the pair of equations. The first thing you should realize is that it's not a regular simultaneous equation because you have powers involved. So you need to look and see where you could eliminate somebody. When you look at it, you got y square, a y, numbers equal x, and then you have x is equal to some y's. So you would realize, boom, I could get rid of this x by switching it out with these terms here because x is equal to all of this. So you replace this x with that. That's how we end up with this equation in red. Then, from there, you know you got to solve it. So you got to try to simplify it. You can't deal with equations on both sides. So put everybody on one side and get one equation. That's how we end up with the green box. You should know you can solve a quadratic equation using two ways. The factorization method, or if you're more comfortable with the quadratic equation, you could have used the quadratic equation. But to me, like, that's a lot of drama. So let's use factorization. I know I could use the AC rule because this is an AC type equation. So I did that, and I shouldn't explain how to factorize using the AC rule because we did that. So once you're done, you're going to have two values of y. And you should know to yourself, you're not done because it's an equation where you must have an x and a y. And in this case, you must get two x's and two y's because what are you dealing with? You're dealing with a quadratic equation, which means it's a curve. And because of what we did before, you know you're going to have two places where you have to find the 2 points. So what do? Just like what we did before. We know the value of y. We choose an equation. We substitute, solve for x. That's what we did. And that's how we get our x and our y, our x and our y. Everybody see that? I know it's a lot, but I just want to make sure you understand. That's what I'm testing for. Understanding. So talk to me. Good to go? Hell no? Or? This is our last question, eh? So make sure you talk to me, let me know what's up. Okay, so 2 persons, 3 persons. We ending here, you know, so I need some feedback, people. Be honest. And I'm gonna be direct with you guys. You can't come class without doing the work on your own and then complain that you know what to do or you don't remember or you don't know. Because at this point, I am doing things. There are new things, but a lot of this I did already, taught already, went through already. So I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're not doing your work on your own, you're wasting our time. You're wasting your time and you're wasting my time. You have to do the revision. You have a textbook I sent you guys, the complete revision PDF on your phone. Everything we're doing here in that textbook. Every single thing we're doing here in that textbook. So if you can't follow what we're doing now, you can literally go in the textbook, look for it, read upon it, look at examples and learn again on your own. Plus the videos that we've posted before. So you do what you got to do. Now this question I'm gonna end here tonight because this is one of the things I have to teach by itself. The only thing. This is called completing the square. And I really want to teach this separate because it's overwhelming. This is the only hard thing that I need to teach that I have not taught to my private students, and this will be done on Sunday. I will confirm Sunday or Saturday. I'm doing a video on completing the square only. Only. All right. So that's what we're gonna end off here. And then the other thing that we didn't do, when I said didn't do, we didn't do any questions like it, but we did cover it, is speed and velocity. So a graph that talks about speed and velocity. We're gonna also do this on Sunday. It's pretty easy though. It's a lot easier than it looks because we did questions just not with a graph. So this is just for us to do a question with a graph. Now, is there anything I am saying that sounds unfair? Be honest with me. Because 2 things I wanna make clear. I am not the one sitting down in the exam. I cannot care about what you know and don't know more than you. If you realize you don't know something and you don't do nothing about it, that is not on me, that is on you. You have to do the work. And I would only give excuses to students who just message me. So you can't say anybody ever messaged me and said, Miss B, I don't understand this and I never help you. Up to now, only 2 people ever messaged me with questions. And I'm putting it out there because I don't know how I gonna know how to help you if you don't say nothing. So please, we got 3 weeks. You know you're struggling with something, you figure it out on your own or message me. Say something. All right? Everybody with me? And I'm going to be moving very strict with classes moving forward. When I send mock exams, please do the mock exam. So yeah, I need some feedback. If you understand what I'm saying or no, because if you think I'm being unfair, tell me you think I'm being unfair. If I'm being too hard, tell me I'm being too hard. Which part you think I'm being unfair, Damien? All right, so that's it, guys. I'm gonna send a schedule because exams were pushed back. I really had a schedule based on I have a schedule based on with my other classes because I canceled all my other classes for this class, and so they're supposed to have classes twice a week. So we're gonna have to set up a new schedule after the 11th. So I'm gonna send you the schedule so you see. And then I think only Sundays I'll be able to have class moving forward. And persons who need one-on-one attention, I will try to accommodate that. But for now, that's it for today. I'm gonna download the video and post it for y'all to read, okay? Have a good night. See y'all on Sunday.